Hello and welcome to the Psychedelic Tea Chat. I'm April Rameé and I'm here to share with you the insight of psychedelic herbalism. So today I want to talk about playing with your shadows. This has been a topic that's been on my mind for quite a long time. I have been navigating what is it like to be an imperfect human being for a while. And one of the concepts that have come up is my shadows, the parts of myself that aren't the best. And how do I navigate that space with them? And so playing with shadows for me has been one of the most psychedelic experiences I've had. And having herbs as a support and plant medicine as a support for me to be able to navigate and go deep into those spaces. So shadow work, a lot of the time, as seen as going into the parts of ourselves that are unwanted, hurt, harm. There's a lot of inner child work that can come along with it. And sometimes it can be really dark and deep. And while I think that's all really wonderful and amazing, and I love the depth and the darkness that it can get into, there's a part of me that really enjoys bringing in the innocence and play that is possible with the shadow. And I've been studying gene keys now for over 5 months. And one of the aspects about it is that there's a shadow frequency, a gift frequency, and a city frequency. And gene keys has been one of the most recent discoveries that I've made that really brings good language towards what I consider shadow work. And so there's this idea that there are shadow frequencies, and in that, we are allowing ourselves to feed into them, feel into them, and really go deep so that we can accept, embrace, and shift and change who we are. And so that's really how I've really seen shadow work. So for example, this what's been coming up for me is recognizing this idea of judgment and being able to shift judgment into a higher frequency of understanding truth, of understanding what's really necessary there. Another one that I've been really playing around with is stress, and understanding that stress leads to me wanting to play with it and realizing that there's a stillness that's being asked. And if there's anything that you've read of my stuff over the past couple of years, or if you're just finding me now, I really strongly believe in the concept of rest. And I was kind of forced into it. And it felt very shadow. It felt very dark and deep. And at the same time, I came out of this year-long rest ready to play. I'm feeling as though I played with that shadow frequency of needing rest. And so I wanted to invite in this short little conversation, it's not going to be long today, about really deepening into what does it feel like to go into a shadow frequency? How do you observe and know that you are going into one? So one of the main shadow ones that I think is failure. So I want to talk about failure because it seems like an easy one to get into. And I've been reading this book, The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, and he has a quote that's roughly around failure is the information you need to move forward. And so there is a shadow frequency that if you play with it, if you play with the concept of failure, if you allow yourself the opportunity to fail, then you're allowing yourself to live. You're allowing yourself to be able to be a creative. You're giving room and accepting space for the opportunity to try something that you've never tried before. And instead of thinking you have to be perfect and it has to be done a certain way, there's an acceptance and allowance for failure to be part of the process, for people to put you down, for not knowing what it's going to look like. And that creates something. So for example, right now, this video is purely a creative act. All of the psychedelic chi chats are purely a creative, inspirational act. I have no clue where they're leading me, where the process is. It's just something that came through in my rest and was like, you need to do this. Now, it could be a failure. I mean, we could see that it's a failure based on how many people view it. What am I judging if it's a success or not? And for me, the opportunity to just do it, step into it, is operating in a space where I'm allowing the opportunity for failure to arise. I'm allowing for mistakes to be present so that I can learn from it, so I can do something, so that people who end up watching it will be able to respond, give me feedback, and help me make changes and do something more beautiful the next time. So I think that this is so important because in the psychedelic spaces, when you're working with plant medicine, a lot of times shadow frequencies show up. And we have the opportunity in those places to process those emotions, right? So a plant medicine experience might bring you to your knees, might make you cry, or in regular times, or when you're just operating in your daily life, you might not give yourself the opportunity to actually let go, embrace it, allow all of the emotions that come around that shadow frequency to show up. And allowing all of those emotions are so potent. It's part of the work, right? So if you're angry, really feel that anger, find an outlet for the anger, and really allow yourself to do it. The thing that I've noticed is that with shadow frequencies, typically we don't want to play out the full emotions because it's been frowned upon. We've received shame, guilt. People have told us that we're doing something wrong. But in reality, when we give into those emotions and we really allow ourselves to express them, then we don't have to harbor them. We don't have to hold on to them. And so then we can accept who we are and we can embrace the shadow part of ourselves and accept that frequency that exists and then see it as a gift. So whenever I feel stress or I'm judging something or I have really strong opinions or I feel a lot of failure, it's an opportunity for me to look at myself and see what is this frequency communicating to me. So instead of staying in the space where, oh, I'm a failure, or now I'm stressed and I can't get out of these things, I think to myself, what is this communicating? Is this an energy I'm supposed to feed? Is this a place I'm meant to be in? Is this a person I'm meant to interact with? And then I come up with real answers and real truth. Then the work begins, right? The integration and actually moving from a space and applying and interacting with the world from a true, authentic space rather than from a place of fear, doubt, shame, or guilt, or failure, or whatever other shadow frequency you want to throw in there. So that's pretty much what I got today. And so one of the exercises I want you all to do is to learn how to play with your shadow. And one of the ways that I do this, I taught this to my group people that are in my Gnosis program. So I'm really kind of giving this away for free right now, is this idea of fluid movement. So one day I was in an ecstatic dance and the sun was shining, it was outside, and I saw my shadow. And there's this idea of dancing with your shadow, right? And I was thinking of it in the meta form, right? Oh, dance with your shadow, play with your shadows. But I was thought, what happens if I actually physically dance with my shadow in this moment? And I had this exquisite dance of looking at my shadow on the ground and moving and recognizing, like, what does it look like when the shadow moves? Because it doesn't look like it's not the same definition and definitive form as my full body, but my full body creates this movement. So what does that look like? How do I play with it? How do I dance with it? And how does it make me feel? So I have linked below a Spotify playlist that I use for my Gnosis program called Fluid Movement. And these are some of my favorite songs. You can put on your own songs if you want to, but I highly suggest and invite you all to take a moment and play with your shadow and actually dance with the physical form. This is a way of somatically bringing into your body the movement that's necessary. So that's what I have for you all today. And let me know right in the comments about how it went, or if you're share with me what you're experiencing. And right now in the Flat Celestial Petal Society that we're working with sunflower, and the sunflower follows the sun and casts shadows onto the ground. And so I just think the two interdynamic play of shadows and the essence is really coming alive for being shared. So thank you for being here today and taking some time to listen. And I look forward to hearing about how dancing with your shadow goes.